She was like a breath of fresh air. She was witty and fun to talk to. And most importantly, she appreciated me for who I am. I dated several girls whose main goal in life seemed to be to change me into their ideal man. Janet wasn't like that. I met her when we were both taking night classes in Photoshop at a local college. I just started getting into digital photography and knew almost nothing about editing photos on a computer. I stopped using my darkroom and tried to enter the 21st century. This turned out to be much more difficult than I thought. Damn, what have I done now? I said, looking at the screen. My photo suddenly grew 10 times larger than it needed to be. Looking at my notes, I found an icon that canceled my action. I'll never learn this, I said with disgust. The woman next to me started giggling. This is not funny, I told her. Now I was very ashamed. No, this is funny, she looked at my screen. Listen, just resize your image by adjusting the pixels or click on the print size you want. I moved my mouse, clicked on what I thought was the right icon, and watched as my image became too small. Damn, I muttered out loud. Now there was more than one person looking at me. Don't bother me, I have a problem here, okay? They stared at me, and I stared back at them defiantly. Meanwhile, the girl next to me continued to giggle, still working on her own image. I'm glad my existence doesn't depend on my grade in this class. I've never failed a class in my life, but now I'm sure as hell failing, I muttered to myself as I hit the cancel button for the 10th time in a row. Last half hour. My first class wasn't going well. I reviewed my notes and started again. I cropped my picture to size, adjusted the color and contrast, and started to feel pretty confident for the first time that evening. I wanted to print it at 8 by 10 inches. I clicked on size, entered 8 by 10, ignored the pixels, whatever they meant, and pressed enter. He was getting too big again. All that was visible on the screen was the bird's wing, no head, legs, or body, just that damn wing. Jesus Christ, I muttered, looking at the screen and leaning back in my chair. To hell with it, I turned off the computer. Damn, I didn't remove the disk. I started to hate it all. I turned the computer back on and received the usual message that the machine was turned off incorrectly and should now undergo a full diagnostic. I won't win. Don't let it get the better of you. Why don't you relax? I heard her calm voice. How can you remain calm in such a situation? It's easy to tell you, you don't have any problems. Look, I have some problems too, but I don't get hysterical like some people here. If you want, I'll help you, but you have to promise me not to go crazy. Okay, I promise, but can I swear a few times if it doesn't work? She gave me a stern look. Okay, no swearing, but if my brain explodes, it will be your fault, not mine. For the next 20 minutes, she controlled the mouse and made all the clicks. I took notes and asked questions. Why are you here? You know almost as much as the teacher. I have an old version of Photoshop, and it only costs me $50 to take this course. They teach the latest version, and if I find it's worth it, I'll pay $150 to upgrade. If not, at least I'll get some practice until the next version comes out. By the way, good photo, did you take it? Of course I did, I answered, looking at her in surprise. All the photos on this disc are mine. Don't bite my head, I was just asking. Like I said, good photo. What lens did you use? Canon f2.8 7200. Ultrasonic version and with internal stabilization, she asked. Both. Are you a photographer? Not really, I just shoot a lot at night and at long distances. I mostly shoot sunrises and wild animals. After a long night of filming, the last thing I want to see is the sunrise. I'm not a morning person, she replied. By the way, my name is Steve. I'm Janet. Nice to meet you, Janet. If you don't mind, can we do this again? But this time I'll be controlling the mouse. I want to make sure my notes are correct. That's how I met Janet. We sat next to each other during all 12 classes. What I didn't immediately grasp, she showed me without haste. Sometimes after class, we would stop for a cup of coffee or beer. That's how I found out that she had a small child at home. I have to go, she said one evening. My mom is watching my daughter, and it's late." With these words, she waited for my answer. "How old is she?" "Her name is Tammy, and she just turned 7. She noticed me looking at her left hand. "No, I'm not married, if that's what you're thinking. I was married once." "It sounds like it wasn't the most memorable event of your life." "That's a story for another time when we have more than an hour." She turned and left the cafe. Single with a 7-year-old child. I spent the next few minutes finishing my coffee and trying to figure out her age. She must be at least 25. I was 27, so apparently no problem. I knew she dropped this bomb on me to see my reaction. I hope I passed her little test. "I made you a CD with some of my best work." I handed Janet the CD during the next class. "It's kind of a thank you for all your help over the past few weeks." Believe it or not, at one point I even thought about quitting. "You don't look like the type to give up." "No, I'm not giving up, but I just didn't understand. I knew it was bugging me, but I couldn't figure out how it worked. So this is my way of thanking you for your help," I said with a big smile. "Is that all?" Without money or dinner, I was probably a little taken aback. "It's a joke. No one has ever given me something of theirs before. I don't even know what to say other than thank you." The classes became easier now that I had mastered the basics. I still made mistakes sometimes, but I was holding back. I didn't pay much attention to Janet. I saw that she was busy with her screen, and tonight I wanted to handle it on my own. During the break, we went downstairs, took a couple of stacks, and went outside. "You're good, very good if you haven't realized it yet. What Canon model are you shooting with now?" "I currently have a Canon 20D. Or rather the company I work for, uses a Canon 5D. It's a step up, but for distance shooting, I sometimes miss the 165 conversion factor of the old models. I'm stuck using a 1.5 or 2 extender to take really long shots," she explained to me. "How far are you shooting?" I asked her. "Well, let's just say I mostly use the f4.5 400mm lens with a 2.0 extender." "Wow, what are you photographing? Hair from 100 yards away." "Something like that." Our break ended, and we returned upstairs. "Do you mind if I work on these photos? I'll try to improve them a little." "No, do what you want with them. They're a little rough, especially some of the black and white ones. That's why I signed up for this course, to learn how to fix what needs to be done. Give me a couple of weeks, and I'll see what I can do. I especially like the one with the 2 chicks in the nest." I named her boys. They are egrets, a couple of weeks old. They were both peeking out of the nest, stretching their necks as high as possible, and their eyes seemed to be looking straight into my camera. I thought it was a good shot. Everyone who I saw him with thinks he's funny as hell. Well, that's a really nice shot, and I'm grateful for the disc. For the first time, I started to feel a little more relaxed in class. I no longer tormented Janet or the teacher, and my self-esteem grew. I'll never be great. I've never had that much free time, but I just wanted to learn the basics. I wanted to learn how to retouch pictures that just weren't perfect. However, there was one big problem. I was a perfectionist and competitive as hell. I have never accepted anything less than perfection from myself. When I submitted a photo to a competition and it didn't win first place, I was angry. I've had a million second and third places, but never first. Perhaps after this course, I can finally achieve what has eluded me all this time. Janet was beaming as she walked into our second to last class. "I made you a CD with 3 photos that I finished this week. I think you'll be impressed." The photos were fantastic. "Wow, that's all I can say. Are you sure these are the same photos I gave you?" "They didn't require as much work as you might think. I adjusted the color a little and trimmed away any excess so that the eye can focus on what you're photographing. Do you like it?" "I love it," I smiled in approval. "This deserves more than just coffee. How about I take you out to dinner on Saturday night?" She hesitated for a few seconds before answering. "I'm busy this weekend, but maybe another time." Who am I kidding? A beautiful girl like her probably already has a permanent boyfriend. I gave her one of those fake smiles you give someone who just gave you bad news and said it's okay, we can do this another time. I turned in all my papers on the last night of class. I think I did a good job, and although I didn't expect to get an A, I was hoping for at least a B. Janet didn't come, and why should she? She just attended the course and did not submit any work. Do you think you'll pass? If it were up to me, I'd probably give you a C plus and make you retake the course, said a voice behind me. If it weren't for the fact that you still owe me dinner, and you don't even know how to contact me, I wouldn't even come tonight. It lifted my spirits. Here are my cell and work numbers. Call me and let me know when you're free. By the way, I like Chinese food. How about this weekend? I asked, hoping she could hear the excitement in my voice. Let me check my schedule. I work a lot on the weekends. Why don't you call me tomorrow night? But if you don't mind, I'm still at work, so I need to get moving. Maybe by Saturday I'll have a chance to finish some more of your photos. I didn't hear much after she gave me her number and told me to call her. Saturday was a good day. Instead of me picking her up, she suggested we meet at a restaurant. She probably didn't want me to know where she lived until she was sure I wasn't a serial killer or pedophile. Since I was neither one nor the other, I wasn't too worried. I've never been here, but I've only heard good things about this place. They serve both Chinese and Japanese food, so if you like sushi, you can eat your fill. She explained all this to me when we met at the entrance to the restaurant. This was the first opportunity to really look at it outside of class. She had short dark hair, was about 5 feet 4 inches tall, and weighed just over 110 pounds. The nose was a little larger than average, but she had emerald green eyes that I really liked. Nice figure as far as I could tell, but I wasn't sure about the chest. I must have stared longer than I should have when she asked me if I lived up to her expectations. Sorry, this is the first time I've actually looked at you. So what the hell have you been doing for the last 12 weeks? I was trying not to look like a fool, but I noticed that you are easy on the eyes. I'll let that pass, and the way you just mentally undressed me. It was one of those dinners that took all night, and I was grateful for that. We started with her, thank God. Janet was brutally honest about her past and what she is looking for in life. My ex was a scoundrel and a traitor. We lived together for 3 years, and that was 2.5 years more than he deserved. I caught him cheating one day and gave him a gift. I forgave him with the condition that if he did it again, he'll be history. When his girlfriend called to cancel their date one night, I nearly broke his neck when he got home from work. I had already packed his things and left them in the driveway in black trash bags. When he started knocking on the door and threatening me, I called the damn police. When he left that night, I never saw or heard from him again. Like I said, my marriage lasted almost 3 years too long. Did the right thing, that's what Tammy gave me. She is the most important thing in my life, and I want you to understand that from the very beginning. He seems to have set the bar pretty low for anyone who followed him. No bar, just high expectations on my part. I don't play games or settle for second best. You can ask the 5 guys I dated before you. They thought I'd be an easy target. You know, a hard-working single mother who doesn't go on dates often. One who can be treated, satisfied, and seduced, if not on the first date, then certainly on the second date. Are all these guys really that stupid? I'm not saying that I'm bad, but bad guys don't mess with me. Let me guess, you're trying to scare me, right? Not to scare, just to inform. Well, I dated witches and a few nice girls who thought they were the gods' gift to men. I only met 2 that I loved and lost. The first didn't think I was the right husband for her, and the second I lost because of a very stupid mistake, but that was a long time ago. Smart people grow up and learn from their mistakes. Well, I did anyway. Something really terrible would have to happen for a girl to turn down a handsome guy like you. Let's just say I did something stupid and keep it to ourselves, okay? No problem, I don't want to mind my own business. Spoken like a real woman. I guess Janet wasn't quite sure how to take it, so she hit me from the other side. So, what do you do when you're not taking pictures? I lead the team that puts together trade show booths for all the national trade shows. I work in New York, Chicago, Las Vegas, and Orlando. Any trade show that comes to town, I make sure everything is set up correctly and everyone involved is happy. Exhibitions? Yeah, like new electronics shows, auto shows, construction shows, and a million other types. They usually run from Thursday to Saturday. I make sure everything is set up on time and packed to go back on Sunday morning. If I have two shows going on at the same time, sometimes I pick the one I'm most interested in and work on it. I know enough people that if I need something, I can always get a good deal from one of my friends. Doesn't it get boring after a while? I mean, doing the same thing every week. Janet was probably wondering how often I was in town. There's always something new, and I meet a lot of people. The only problem is that sometimes it gets a little lonely traveling all the time. Eat alone, maybe have a drink in the hotel bar before bed. The money is good, but it's the only problem. Steve, for a handsome guy like you, there must be a million girls at shows who would love to see your shoes under their bed at night, she said almost sarcastically. No more, was my answer to this. When we were finally kicked out, we ended up in the parking lot. Well, Mr. Stephen Moore, I had a wonderful evening today. And Miss Janet Collins, me too. We both looked at each other and started laughing loudly together. Okay, I know I'm not going to have any luck today. I said this with a little sarcasm. She studied me, apparently waiting for my next remark. Now that we've gotten past the first and hardest date, the next 10 or 20 should be easier. So, if I understand you correctly, you want to meet me again, because I definitely want to see you again. This time, why don't check your schedule or call me. I'm free most evenings, but I don't have anyone else to worry about. You seem pretty confident. If I wasn't sure, you would never have let me do this, I said, taking her in my arms and giving her a passionate kiss with a light touch of my tongue. Thank God she didn't resist and didn't knee me in the groin. That was nice. Maybe we should do it again, she said, opening her car door and getting inside. Through the open window, I received another kiss, not as sweet as the first, but still pleasant. A lady doesn't chase a man, so let me know your work schedule for the next 2 weeks, and we'll definitely meet again. Janet blew me a kiss. The only thing I could come up with was that she had been seriously offended at least once and did everything she could to prevent it from happening again. I wasn't sure what I wanted, but seeing her again was high on my list of priorities. Between her work schedule and mine, we had some difficulty organizing our next date and the next 10. I found out that Janet worked in a detective agency. She didn't say much except to say that she was one of 4 partners in the firm. When I pressed and asked what type of investigations they did, all she could say was that it was all types and most of the time it was confidential, so she couldn't go into detail with me. I asked if I could go with her someday. She gave me that look that I was already accustomed to and said that she would never do anything in the world. I left it. When I suggested spending a whole day at Disneyland's Magic Kingdom, Janet said she preferred Epcot. But I bet Tammy would enjoy the Kingdom of Magic better. This, my friend, started a discussion that lasted all night. Instead of going out, we ordered takeout, realizing that we weren't even close to solving our problems. Steve, I don't include Tammy in my dates. I don't want her to date every guy I go out with because most of them don't stick around long enough. Tammy is too precious for me. I don't want her to get attached to some guy just to have him leave when things don't go his way. I'm not going to put her through that kind of pain. Look, I don't know where this is going between us, but I thought by now you would realize that I'm not in this for your sexy body. This brought a small smile to her face. Tammy is a huge part of your life, and if we're going to move forward, don't you think you should let us meet? Heck, she might not like me, and I might think she's stubborn and spoiled like her mother, and leave you. This time I smiled. We spent the better part of the next 2 hours discussing each other's intentions and what we were both looking for in this new relationship. I wasn't ready for a serious relationship yet, but I wanted us to be exclusive from now on. Janet wanted to know what I meant by exclusivity, and when I explained it to her, she wasn't happy. You mean don't date or go out with someone else? What if it's just a friend I can have a couple of cocktails with after work? I don't know how jealous or insecure you are about me having friends of the opposite sex, but I have several of them, even outside of work. Janet, if you want to date others, just let me know so I don't have to worry about putting effort into that relationship. We can date every now and then and have a good time and leave it at that. However, if you're looking for something, then more than casual dates, then we need to be exclusive. Sooner or later, we will become intimate, and I don't want to worry about who I'm sleeping with. Do you think I'm sleeping with someone? Janet reacted irritably. Who are you sleeping with? I don't sleep with anyone, including you, unfortunately. You just need to decide what you want out of it, that's all. After that, I'll know what to do. It didn't go at all the way I thought it would. I thought she would be thrilled that I wanted to include Tammy in our plans. This girl had serious trust issues, and I was giving her the opportunity to work them out with me. The only way I knew was if we were exclusive. I didn't want to worry about others muddying the waters. I also didn't want a third party in our bed, so I decided to give her all the time she needed to make her decision. When she called on Tuesday and wanted to meet on Thursday or Friday evening, I said I couldn't. I'll be in Chicago until Sunday afternoon for the dry cleaning equipment show at the McCormick Convention Center. I'm flying out tomorrow, so why don't you call me one evening during the week? Janet wanted to discuss this face-to-face, but agreed to call me on my cell phone within a week. Steve, I'll miss you. This told me a lot. She called me on Friday evening just before 10. I had just finished dinner and was listening to a band in the hotel bar when she called. It was quite loud, and the group from out of town was completely drunk. The women were noisy, screaming and laughing. "Hello, dear, how are you?" I said, answering my cell phone. "Tammy is sleeping, and I was just finishing up my report when I thought about you and decided to call. What are you doing?" "Just listening to a pretty good band in the bar before heading upstairs. Everything's been going great this week. I'm hoping to catch an early morning flight at 11 on Sunday if all goes to plan." At that moment, two drunk women from the group approached the bar, brushed against me, and spilled their drinks on me. "Ladies, please watch where you are going," I tried to say politely. I grabbed some napkins from the bar, trying to dry my pants. "Here, let me help you with that wet spot," one of them muttered, also grabbing a handful of napkins. "Maybe we should take you upstairs and help you get these pants off," she said a little too loudly. Her friend giggled. "It's okay, ladies, it's no big deal." Luckily, they took the hint and left. "Sorry about that," I said to Janet when I could pay attention to her again. "Like I said, some people just shouldn't drink." "Looks like you're having fun there," Janet said loudly. "No, everyone's just relaxing a little. Take people out of their normal environment, give them a few drinks, and they go crazy," I tried to explain to her. "Well, it looks like you have a lot of work to do. Why don't you call me when you get back to town?" She ended our conversation and hung up. Was it just me, or was there actually a hint of irritation in her voice before she hung up? I didn't think about it too much, and we ended up having the talk the following Tuesday evening. We had dinner at my house and made a list of restrictions regarding our relationship. We have agreed to complete exclusivity in every sense of the word, and Tammy will participate in all our events where necessary. She liked the idea of going to Disney, but objected to us having dinner at my house. We decided to proceed slowly and carefully. I felt pretty good and poured us more wine. "For us," I said, touching her with my glass. We both emptied our glasses. As I bent down to place mine on the table in front of us, she pulled me towards her and kissed me in the most sensual way ever. She moved to my side, wrapping her legs around my waist as we continued to touch lips. You could say it was like a lap dance. She stopped for a moment and pressed her lips to mine again, wrapping her arms around my neck. I don't know what made me do it, but I stood up with her legs still wrapped around my waist, and I headed to the bedroom. One wrong move could have caused serious injury for both of us, and I thanked God that my bedroom was on the first floor. I carefully lowered both of us onto the bed and sighed in relief that we had arrived safe and sound. Then it dawned on me, I don't have condoms. I figured we'd just talk tonight and didn't plan on making a move until Saturday dinner. Maybe she was taking pills. I could only hope. As our clothes dissolved and our lips and tongues heated us even more, I perhaps should have said something. "You don't have a damn condom. You've got to be kidding me," she said, sitting down. "Are you on the pill by any chance?" Her look immediately gave me the answer. We found a way out of this situation. We became a formal couple after that. Neither of us liked each other's work schedules, but we learned to live with it. Every time I started asking questions about her work and types of clients, she would back off a little. "Steve, I can't talk about my clients. About 90% of the time it ends up in some kind of lawsuit because of what we find out, and I don't want to jeopardize any case by discussing it with you." I didn't like it, but I understood. "I just don't want to start calling you Zo7 or anything like that." I left it as is. When I brought Janet and Tammy to meet my parents, she was nervous as hell. "Relax, they won't bite, and if they love you half as much as I do, you'll be fine." The evening went well until my mom and Janet started talking about my past. She told her mom about her ex-husband, and my mom told her about my ex-fiancé. I didn't know Steve was engaged. She looked in my direction in surprise. "Yeah, that was a long time ago. I think Steve was too wild for his own good back then. They were both lucky they never got married. With Steve always looking the other way and how tense Beth was, they never would have gotten along. It's good that Steve has matured." I didn't hear everything they said, just enough to know what I was in for. So I pretended I hadn't heard a word and just hoped Janet wouldn't bring it up. The truth was that I cheated on Beth while I was on a business trip for 1 week, and she found out about it. Things got ugly, and although I begged her to forgive me, she said, "Once a traitor, always a traitor." The wedding was called off, and she returned the ring to me. That was 5 years ago, but the pain and regret still remained deep inside me. I waited for the night Janet would bring it up, but she never did. I was going to say something after 2 weeks, but decided against it. Hell, if she wants to ask me about it, I'll wait until she brings it up herself. "Honey, I'll be on a business trip next week. I'll be working at the New York Auto Show." "I thought you were going to be at the ski show in Orlando." "I've been meaning to, but with all the new products hitting showrooms this fall, I want to get a closer look." "Steve, with the prices they're asking for these exotic cars, you can't afford them," she reminded me. "I know that, but I can look, right? And I assume there will be beautiful models all over the place." "But sure, but honey, you're the only model I want to look at," I said, doing my best big wet puppy impersonation. She hit me on the arm. It was a big international show. It took 2 full days to set up the booths and install millions of miles of electrical wires and computer lines between the routers. We also held 2 meetings a day to make sure everything was going according to plan. By Wednesday night, we were at our limit. The show opened at 10 o'clock the next morning, and we all had to be there to make sure everything went right. I was alone in a hotel restaurant trying to eat a steak when someone spoke to me. "Do you mind if I sit here? All the tables are taken, and I don't like eating alone." She was damn cute and had an amazing body. "Of course," I said, standing up and pulling out the chair opposite me. "Thank you," she said, sitting down with her tray. "I'm Katie, and this is my first show. Are they all that crazy?" "Most of them aren't that crazy, but it's an international show, so it's bigger than most." "What are you going to do here?" I asked, assessing her. "I'll be handing out programs and directing people to the various exhibits. I hope I don't mess it up. I've never done anything like this before." "Relax and don't worry. Even if you get into trouble, wink your pretty eyes and say that you are new here, but we'll be happy to help them in any way. No man will be angry with you once you turn on your charm." "Do you think I have beautiful eyes?" I nodded in agreement, and we both returned to our food. I finished first and apologized, saying I had a meeting. "Remember what I told you, and tomorrow everything will be like clockwork for you." Maybe I'll see you, I said with a smile, saying goodbye for the night. Everything was ready, and tomorrow morning we would find out how well we had done. Janet called me a little after 11. Hey, honey, how are you holding up? I'm tired and looking forward to this week being over. How's your new project going? She said earlier that they were doing important work this week. So far, so good. My project is due to finish on Saturday evening. You haven't bought anything yet, have you? Not yet, but the show doesn't open until tomorrow morning. Who knows, maybe I'll bring home something sleek, smooth, and sexy on Sunday. Listen, the only sleek, sexy thing you'll have on Sunday night is me. I don't have four wheels, but I have all the custom features you need, and you should see how I handle the corners. We both laughed, and I told her I missed her. Don't worry, I left my credit card at home on purpose, and besides, my bank account can't withstand a hit of 100,000. Hell, I only had 5,000 in my savings account and much less in my checking account, not counting the retirement money in my 401k. I didn't see Katie on Thursday, which was probably a good sign that she was coping. These shows always hired the most beautiful models in town as nothing more than set pieces, and it usually worked. We had two minor problems at the start, but that was all. At 5:30, the first day was over, and I was feeling pretty good. For dinner, I allowed myself the luxury of ordering 2 lobster tails. I grabbed a bottle of white wine and was just starting to eat when Katie showed up. Sit down, girl, and tell me about your first day, I said, pulling out a chair. We spent the next hour discussing the first day. I didn't think there would be so many people. I had to replenish supplies every hour. Wait until tomorrow and Saturday if you think today was crowded. We'll probably have twice as many people. My legs are dead after standing on a hard surface for 8 hours. Get some gel shoe inserts, they will really make a difference. Steve, have you seen the shoes I have to walk in? They're 4-inch heels with a strap here and there just to keep them in place. There's not enough material to hold the insert in place. Maybe you could attach them to the undersides of your legs, inside your tights. And how on earth did you come up with this trick? And an even better question is, how often do you wear tights? She was laughing now. It's funny, very funny. I know a lot of girls who work at shows, and that's what they do. And I guess you're such a nice guy that you volunteer to help them put on their tights, she said, still laughing. Oh, sorry, Steve. I didn't mean anything like that. It was a joke. It's okay, besides, if you're going to make this your short-term career, you need to know the tricks of the trade. I've already been asked several times about the tricks of the trade by several male exhibitors. Katie, you'll find scoundrels all over here. Just smile at them and tell them you're not interested and move on. But don't be surprised if you see more than one girl stick around. I know quite a few who kind of make a living serving certain clients. It is their choice, and I am not going to judge others for their actions. We talked for about half an hour and finished my bottle of wine. Do you want to go to the hot tub tonight? I think it's just what my body needs. I'd love to, but I have a big day tomorrow, and I need to get as much sleep as possible tonight. But thanks for the offer, maybe next time. I excused myself, went up to my room and called Janet. Her mobile was busy. She was probably in her van again, taking pictures. She always turned off her mobile phone when she was working. I left a message. Friday was hard, but no problems. Katie didn't show up for dinner, and all the workers were invited to the hotel bar for drinks between 9 and 10 that evening. I decided that a couple of drinks would help me relax enough to fall asleep right away. There was only one day left, and Saturdays are usually crazy. Katie was nowhere to be seen, but I heard her voice right behind me. I'm telling you for the umpteenth time, don't touch me, her voice rang out. I got up and walked towards the sound. In one of the corners, she was sitting with a middle-aged man. He didn't seem to take no for an answer, and she was more than a little upset. I didn't recognize him as one of my employees, and at that moment I didn't care who he was. I just needed to end it. Sorry, I'm late, honey. I got stuck halfway, I said to the two surprised people. Where are my manners? Hi, I'm Steve Moore, and I believe you've already met my fiancée, Katie, I said, looking straight at him. Honey, we don't have any problems here, do we? No, honey, that person was just leaving, she said, looking relieved for both of us. Yeah, I have to go. It was nice meeting you both. He disappeared into the crowd. Steve, thank you so much. He wouldn't stop pawing me and wouldn't leave, she said with a big smile. I owe you a drink. She beckoned to the waitress. We spent the next 2 hours talking and drinking. I had 3 drinks for her, but to hell with it, they were free. When she asked me to dance, I agreed, but stopped after one dance when she started to become too familiar with her hands. You're a real hottie, Steve. Handsome, smooth, and a great dancer. Can you convince me to join you in the hot tub tonight? Maybe tomorrow, Katie. I have a crazy day tomorrow, and I need to be prepared. I had one too many drinks tonight, and 20 minutes in the jacuzzi would probably put me to sleep. You definitely wouldn't fall asleep with me in the jacuzzi, she purred, giving me flirtatious glances. You really are a naughty girl, aren't you? I hope I can trust you to go back to your room alone, because tomorrow there will be hell on the exhibition floor. Get some sleep, and I'll see you tomorrow. This girl is made for comfort, I told myself. I've known Ferraris that probably couldn't keep up with her once she started moving. I felt a stirring in my lower back when I entered my room. A cold shower and checking my messages were in order. Hi, honey, Janet's message began. Sorry I missed you, but I just wanted to say hi. I love you and can't wait for Sunday. Remember, no cars. She finished there, and I turned off the bedside light. I could still see the light through the window, and after my eyes adjusted, I remembered a night like this 5 years ago when another girl who worked with us came to my room. I opened the door, and when she came in, I knew I was in trouble. I was engaged and never planned to seduce her. It just happened, or I told Beth. That evening, we had a party together and went to different rooms, but she wasn't tired, and I probably wasn't either. The only problem was that when she left my room, one of my employees, who was also Beth's friend, saw her. I never knew what hit me when I got home. At first, I tried to get out of this situation, but when that didn't work, I threw myself at her mercy and asked for forgiveness. I was drunk and didn't know what I was doing. It was just sex, and I promised her I would never do it again. Nothing worked. She left me and never wanted to see me again. There was no wedding, there was no bride, but there was more than enough grief and heartache. I was worthless in everyone's eyes. I vowed that I would never make that mistake again. On Saturday, I walked around the showroom and looked at all the beautiful cars. I must have said, if only, a million times to myself, wishing I had 5 or 10 of them. I bought an extra lottery ticket that evening. How was your last day? I asked Katie, and she said with a big smile that she really enjoyed it. It's not that bad once you get the hang of it. I think I almost enjoyed it, and I made money on top of that. She looked really great and relaxed. She could have a great future if her looks are maintained. If you don't mind me asking, how much did you make here per day? $25 an hour Thursday and Friday and $50 an hour today. This also does not include my room, food, and clothes. Overall, it was worth it. Well, I've seen a few cars that I'd really like to own someday, but unless I win the lottery, it'll never happen. Steve, remember, you promised me that you would join me in the hot tub tonight, and I'm making you do it, she reminded me in an almost abusive manner. The hotel complex gave me a bottle of champagne, and I will bring it with me. Why don't we say it's 7:30? I nodded and decided that I would give her 20 minutes in the hot tub before heading back to my room. Katie was waiting for me in the bath. Her costume was made up of so much material that if you held both pieces in your hand and closed it, you wouldn't see anything. The bottle was more than half empty, and Katie seemed to feel no pain. I poured myself a glass, climbed into the bath, and enjoyed the hot water flowing over my sore legs and feet. More than once I had to try to control Katie's legs. It seemed like they were on a search and destroy mission to get into my shorts. When she came to me and told me to relax, no one was there. I knew I was in trouble. Katie, if you stay in this tub any longer, they'll call you good. When she tried to get out of the bath, she tripped. In the end, I caught her. Perhaps you should take me back to my room. I think I'm a little dizzy from all the champagne I drank, she said with a drunken laugh. I helped her up and grabbed the half-empty bottle. On the way back to her room, she repeatedly pressed her breasts against my hand or chest. When we got there, she couldn't even find a place for the room key card. I grabbed it, pushed the door open, and pressed it against the door frame. Would you like to come in? I have a warm bed, she said. It's just one night and no one needs to know. She untied her top and let her breasts fall freely in front of my face. I can guarantee you won't be disappointed. She leaned her head forward, licking my ear and neck. It took every ounce of moral fortitude to keep her at a distance. On a scale of 1 to 10 it was 12, and as much as she wanted it, I gave her 14. As much as I would like to, I just can't. There's a girl waiting for me at home that I care about more than having fun with you. Even though you say that no one will know, I would know and would never be able to meet her again if I accepted your offer. So even though I'll probably have to take 2 cold showers tonight, I'll have to refuse your offer. Are you sure? I'm more than sure, I replied. Katie, let me help you to your room, I said as I walked around her to take her to her room. Steve, there's no need for that, she said, tying her top and speaking to me in a stony, sober voice as she stood up straight. Katie, are you okay? I'm fine, and I think you are too. I don't understand, I began to say as she pushed the door open and saw the reflection of another person in her room in the mirror. Janet, I said as I walked through the door. Janet, what are you doing here? Now I stuttered, looking at all the cameras. Katie followed me into the room and closed the door. Steve, I can explain it all, Janet said as if a child had been caught in the cookie jar. Janet, what the hell is going on here? I asked, looking first at her and then at Katie. They both looked nervous. I'm so sorry, Steve, I should have made sure, were the next words from her mouth. Jesus fucking Christ, I screamed. Was it a damn setup? I looked at Katie. And you were the damn bait? I know my face must have turned 10 shades red when I realized what had happened. Steve, it's not as bad as it seems, Katie said, trying to calm me down. Katie, I shouted to her, I think it would be in your best interest if you kept your damn mouth shut right now. She put on a large t-shirt and sat on the bed at the other end of the room. With that, I turned my attention back to the nervous Janet. Why? Why did you do this to me? Then it dawned on me, a conversation with my mother. I guess once a cheater, always a cheater in your book, right? Steve, with Tammy and everything else I had to be sure of. Well, I think you got your damn answer. Are you satisfied? Steve, please don't be mad. What should I be angry about, Janet? I spat back at her. My girlfriend thinks I'm a cheater and hires some girl to try and get me into bed to prove that I'm not worthy of her perfect ass. Oh, sorry, after 4 days of harassing me with sex and alcohol, she couldn't, which means I must have passed your damn test. Well, Janet, you can take the damn test and shove it up your ass for all I care. So if you'll excuse me, I've never hit a woman before, and if I don't leave right now, I might do it. I literally ran out of this room. I didn't go back to my room, and when my cell phone started ringing, I threw it against the hotel wall. Later, I blamed myself for this. I was unable to drive, so I walked, or should I say ran. An hour later, I was still angry but exhausted. I returned to my room just after 2 o'clock in the morning. I was physically and emotionally exhausted and fell asleep immediately, still in my clothes. My wake-up call brought me back to life. After showering and shaving, I headed to the conference room. It was a madhouse where everyone was dismantling their booths and packing up their things. I made an agreement with my leading man, Tim. We looked at the schedule and dove headfirst into it. 3 hours later, it was time to clean up. Boss, I tried to call your phone, but it went straight to voicemail, Tim told me. I had an accident with my phone, and I'll have to get another one tomorrow, I explained. Just make sure everything is cleared away before you close the doors. I don't need anyone else today before I go. You guys did a great job this week. See you on Monday. I was there. I checked out of the hotel, returned my rental car, and flew home before noon. For the first time in my life, I was glad to be without a phone. The 3.5-hour flight home gave me too much time to focus on my problems. I tried to fall asleep, but my brain and the in-flight movie put an end to that. Every time I thought about what Jane did, I got angry again. I felt like a puppet that had been played for 4 damn days. I think it was a big project that she told me she was working on while I was out of town. Here I was thinking she was actually working instead of trying her hardest to get me to cheat on her. The only thing that made me happy was that I didn't do it. I turned out to be much stronger than I thought. I landed, grabbed my luggage, and walked to my car, which was parked in the long-term parking garage. All I wanted to do was go home, take a shower, and drink a couple dozen beers. I needed to get drunk to ease the pain of the game. The answering machine was full. Some were from my boss asking himself why he couldn't reach me on his cell phone. One from Tim saying it was 3 o'clock and he was leaving because everything was already done. The rest were from Janet. "Steve, please call me. We need to talk." And another said, "I'm sorry it was stupid, and I'm so sorry. We're just 2 out of 20. The last person in the world I wanted to talk to right now was Janet. After I finished the 5 bottles of beer that were in my refrigerator, I started with a bottle of white Zinfandel that was sitting on my wine rack. I wanted to get drunk enough to fall asleep so I wouldn't have to replay the last 4 days in my head over and over again. I wondered how far Katie would have gone if I had given in to her. I know Janet was in her room on Saturday night, but what about Friday when she wanted to go to the hot tub? On Saturday, when I walked into this room, I remembered that I had seen all of Janet's cameras, and now I put 2 and 2 together. She was always in the background taking pictures of the two of us. God, that's why she never picked up when I called her. I got angry again. When I saw the sun coming through my bedroom window, I realized that I was late for work. I felt like crap. I undressed and took a shower. When I was shaving in front of the bathroom mirror, the mirror reflected back to me that I looked like crap. I deleted all her messages, but as I walked by I noticed that 10 new ones had appeared. God, I must have really been drunk last night. I never heard the phone ring. I smiled, mission accomplished. "Damn, Steve, I haven't seen you look this bad in years," my boss said when I showed up to work 2 hours late. "You're not going back to the old Steve, are you?" God, I sure as hell hate to have to put up with that idiot again. "I just drank too much last night, that's all." I reached for the coffee pot, hoping that a little coffee would make me feel human again. Good, because we need to finalize a schedule this morning, and I need to discuss something with you ASAP. Henry, give me 5 minutes to finish my coffee and check my email, and I'll meet you in your office. He nodded in approval and left. What the hell did I do? Of the 42 emails, 75% were junk. The third one answered yes or no, but the rest would have to wait until I met Henry. "Sit down and close the door." He asked his administrator to put our calls on hold. "Received first feedback from the convention center about the show last week, and it looks like we have a bit of a problem." "Holy shit," were the first words that echoed in my brain as I tried to remember what we had screwed up or forgotten. They called me first thing this morning and said that based on how we did the show in New York, they want us to do the show in San Francisco and Detroit. I tensed and cringed, waiting for the bad news that I almost missed. Let me ask this straight, did they like it? They more than liked it. They liked the way you and Tim treated the team. They said it was the best show they'd had in 5 years, and, with the exception of a couple of hiccups on Thursday, it went off without a hitch. I wrote out a little thank you check for you and Tim for all your hard work last week," he beamed. "They want you and time to visit both sites this week. They want to explain what they are looking for and set a schedule for next year. This is a huge opportunity for all of us." "This week? Why is something going on with you that I don't know about? The only thing I know we have this week is a hell of a lot of paperwork to go through from last weekend." I wanted to cry. "I can't fly out until tomorrow, and I think 3 days at each facility should be more than enough." You and Tim will stay as long as they need you, okay? You're the boss, I replied. Damn it. Now get out of here, meet Tim, and get on the earliest possible flight tomorrow. And by the way, where the hell is your cell phone? It kind of broke. Well, take one today. I can't let my best guy go on the field without him. On the way back to my place, I picked up a replacement. I called Tim and gave him the short version. He was not happy about returning from the city tomorrow. Look on the bright side. When you hand your wife that fat bonus check and tell her to go crazy. He laughed, I didn't. I still had one more problem that I needed to solve before I left. By 7:30, I had packed my things and was just going through my agenda when her email arrived. It was a lot like all the others. She was sorry that I shouldn't have seen her and that she needed to meet me so we could talk. She said something about the L word and how we could work through it. I pressed the answer button. Janet, I think the last thing I want to do right now is talk to you. I'm still so angry that I don't even know what I would do or what I would say, but it wouldn't be nice. I'm going away for about a week and a half, and by the time I get back, I'll probably have calmed down a bit. While I'm gone, I need you to do one thing, and only if you want it. I need you to seriously think about why you did this to me, or I should tell you. You can give me the long or short version, and we can do it by email or in person. That will be your prerogative since you started it. All I want to know is why I think you owe me so much. Why don't we make an appointment in a week from this Thursday at the Chinese restaurant where we had our first date? Maybe it will bring us some luck. That is, unless you are trying to trap your unsuspecting husband that night. So, I'll see you on Thursday at 7:30. If you decide not to show up, I understand. Steve. Knowing I was being unfair with my comment about my unsuspecting husband, I hit send anyway. We were busy, but I couldn't forget Janet and those 4 days of hell. We finished a day early and spent the entire day on Wednesday in the office doing paperwork. I stayed up Wednesday night thinking through what I was going to say 1,000 times, changing it every 10th time. By Thursday evening, I had no idea what I wanted to say. I decided I'd just do it. We got a booth in the back and immediately made a reservation so we could be alone. Janet came prepared. Damn, she already double-spaced what she was going to say. There was little talk. We both knew why we were here. She asked if she could go first. I saw that she was ready to explode. She made some valid points. She talked about her cheating husband, how I cheated on Beth, how she has serious trust issues, and how she has to look after Tammy. The fact that she could always hear women in the background every time she called made her a little suspicious. In the end, she just needed to find out for herself whether, given the opportunity, I would cheat again. She hoped we could get through this and felt we had a future. I thought about what she said and forgot what I was going to say. At that time, I wanted to make a list like hers. Janet, you made some good points, especially regarding protecting your daughter. Your story, mine, and what happened are all valid points, but my first question is why didn't you just talk to me about your concerns? Did you think maybe I would lie to you or just say what you wanted to hear? You see, in some ways, you're like my ex-fiancée Beth. Deep down, you, like her, don't believe that a person can change. She wanted to say something, but I stopped her. Please let me finish. My mother herself said that I have a wandering eye, but that was a long time ago, and I grew up. The only thing I showed you, but more to myself, is that I have changed and become stronger than I thought. And do you know what made me so strong? These were my feelings for you. Steve, we'll get through this. You didn't cheat, Janet reminded me. This time. What happens in 6 months, in a year, in 5 years, when you start to doubt again? Who are you going to send then? You say you had trust issues, and now I have the same thing. Every time I see a cute girl smiling at me or flirting with me, I wonder if it's one of your girls. If I see the same guy twice, I wonder if I'm being followed. Lastly, I will always wonder if you bugged my hotel room, car, or went through all my emails and text messages on my phone. You see, trust is a double-edged sword, and it swings both ways. Right now, we're both cut and bleeding, and our relationship is on life support. Steve, I know I went overboard, but I've been hurt before, and I don't want to go through that again. Relationships are causal at best. Hell, 50% of marriages end in divorce, but I put myself out there for you to look at, analyze, and presumably trust. I guess I was wrong. You killed what we had before I left. That Wednesday morning, and right now I don't see how we can get him back. Can't we try? Asked a remorseful Janet. I'm willing to try. I just don't want you to get your hopes up. We talked and had a pleasant dinner. Neither of us ate much, and we kissed goodnight for that matter. We emailed occasionally and even went out 2 more times, but what we had was pretty much dead. Son, I can't believe you're breaking up with Janet over something so trivial. Can't you see that she just wanted to make sure you were for real? My mother tried to convince me to understand Janet's point of view. I don't think anyone saw it from my point of view. No matter, we're almost done. After work on Thursday, I decided to invite Tim and his wife to dinner as a thank you for all the hard work he has put in over the last 2 months. When we walked in, just after 7, I saw her, but luckily she didn't see me. Maybe we should go and find another place, Tim said, looking at me for directions. And miss the show? Not in your life. We ate and drank, and I watched and learned. There were touches of hands, suggestive laughter, and even a few kisses on the lips. After dessert, I told Tim that I would see him in the morning. Steve, please don't do anything stupid. Henry will kick my ass if I let you go to jail. Don't worry, I'm just going to say hello to an old friend. I walked up to their table. Good evening, Janet, I said, taking her by surprise. Now I see that your job involves much more than just taking photographs, as you told me. She started to say something, but stopped mid-sentence. I think the truth and credibility in your book only swings one way, which is a shame. Well, go ahead. I wouldn't dream of interrupting someone when they're doing something they really enjoy. I heard something along the lines of Steve, wait, but I continued walking to my car. I received another email from her in which she tried to explain that she only worked and never slept with any man, but I never responded. Trust. I never thought that one word could cause such pain and hurt in my life. But now, when I meet someone, I immediately tell him what I expect, and if he doesn't handle it, oh well, as they say, there are plenty of fish in the sea.